It's now time for our new corner On Point, where we speak with various experts in their field to dig deeper into the biggest news stories in the spotlight right now. In late September, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told lawmakers on Capitol Hill that the US will hit its debt limit by October 18th, as we just heard in that report there. She also said that's the date the Treasury will run out of its so-called extraordinary measures, meaning the Treasury will then have a very limited ability to manage its cash flow.
Yes. Now, these remarks come as Congress has yet to agree on a bill to raise the debt ceiling through December 22nd, 2022. For an expert's take on this precarious situation, we are joined on Skype by Oh Joonseok, Professor of Business Administration at Sookmyung Women's University. Professor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, first off, President Biden this week called out Republicans for opposing any raise to the debt ceiling, calling their current opposition dangerous and reckless. Now, how bad would it be for the U.S. and the global economy if the U.S. defaults in less than 2 weeks' time?
First of all, we need to understand the background of U.S. Treasury Secretary's warning. Let's imagine a situation. You are the manager of a manufacturing company, and all the facilities and production processes working on a regular schedule. But on a sudden, the market has changed. Therefore, purchasing order from distributor has dropped down, and then it is unable to make a delivery. What will you do as a manager in this situation? Stop the manufacturing line, give up the pink slip to the employees to save cost by reducing risks, or increasing the level of inventory in the warehouse, save time despite the risk taking. This is the situation. Debt ceiling is the maximum affordable level of inventory. Needless to say, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, due to urgency rooted in the prolonged pandemic, there were not many choices left other than liquidity injection. It's like paying workers' wages by getting a loan. Financial support directly to the household and small business in the name of emergency relief fund. The federal debt is at 28.43 trillion, according to the Peter J. Peterson Foundation tracker. What is the response in the market till now? Tech-heavy Nasdaq composite plunged, and the S&P 500 losing, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average retreated. Financial instability has a transmission mechanism spreading toward the real goods market. Energy prices stay high, and then evergreen crisis in relation to inflation concern. This is expected to linger for a while, generating uncertainty. What a mess. Under this situation, it is hard to make a decision, and then worrisome in the expected future.
Yeah, and we wanted to ask you, because this issue of hiking the debt ceiling is hardly new for the US. It comes up every few years, basically. However, it usually does get resolved with the Democrats and the GOP reaching a deal and approving it. It seems to me as if the Republicans just want to make President Biden sweat a touch. But is there anything to suggest this time is any different to previous times?
Economic imbalance are different, and then political imbalance are different this time also. It matters little what amount will be a true debt ceiling. Reaching an agreement of changing the limit, it implies the collective obligation of their decision making. So at this time, whether or not to change the inventory level of the warehouse, in my example, depends on when the market will turn back to normal. Nobody knows. There is a risk of no way out, no way back. Economic viewpoint tells it is likely to start global stagflation. We already know that stagflation is when there is a high inflation with stagnant economic growth. And then Jerome Powell added that the upward pressure on prices could be larger and longer lasting than anticipated, particularly due to supply bottleneck. Growing power supply crunch in China has cut production at factories and triggers a rise in commodity price globally. Production shortage in the first quarter would not only slow growth of the Chinese economy, but also push up the inflation around the world in major economies, including the United States. What about the political viewpoint? President Joe Biden blessed the Republicans for playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act passed the Senate August 18th as the type of financial support, but has yet to pass the House, and Speaker Nancy Pelosi has warned that the House will not approve it unless other conditions to be met. Political impasse over the U.S. debt ceiling concerns deal a hard blow to the President Joe Biden's big spending plan. It might be tough in the later times.
Mm-hmm. Professor, well, the U.S. debt limit currently stands at around $28.5 trillion. If a deal is reached,
Right.
it'll quickly become even more. In your opinion, at what point will the U.S. national debt become unsustainable?
Debt ceiling is not just numbers. It's just a name of a packaged, prepared risk manual book. When the level has changed, the application of risk manual also changes. How to manage the debt ceiling limit is a reflection of trust of the U.S. economic capacity. Think about it. A potato couch can hardly bear the burden of extreme sports, because it is based on the belief of affordability and then doability of U.S. risk-taking capacity. Nobody there to say what is the exact number of debt ceiling. But I could suggest a comparable number with $28.5 trillion, considering one of roles of U.S. dollar as means of international settlement in the middle of international trade, which implies the global market capacity of U.S. dollar. According to WHO's statistics, world trade in goods and services amounted to US $22 trillion in 2020, and a 13% decline compared with 2019. If not the COVID-19 pandemic happened, that it is possible to forecast the world trade volume computed total by dollar terms will amount to about $25 trillion in 2020. And we have to add that M1 in the domestic US dollar currency is roughly $16 trillion. In this respect, 28.5 trillion range might be, I might say, that close to the maximum affordability.
Okay, Professor, we did hope to ask you a couple more questions, but unfortunately we're out of time. But we do appreciate your insights on what clearly is a very complex issue. That was Oh Joonseok, Professor of Business Administration at Sookmyung Women's University, on the fight in the US on raising the debt ceiling. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.